Okay, hello, welcome. So today you will see from my title that this video is a transmission, it's a healing transmission around unplugging and retrieving soul aspects from the satanic Disney blueprint grids. So let me just, a little bit of backstory because I know that's quite a mouthful. So I was in a spa and I was performing in London and I got put up in a lovely hotel and I was in the spa and I was receiving very, very deeply stuff around child sacrifice and also Disney particularly, and it came in so clear that this was the transmission that needed to come through, a healing for the inner child from the satanic Disney grids. Now, I also don't think that it's a coincidence that we are doing this healing transmission at the same time as there is mass child sacrifice occurring in Gaza. I think that there is some kind of connection in terms of the archetypal inner child here. And if you had tuned into my last newsletter, you will have known that I was writing quite extensively about empire, about Palestine and Israel, and also about this sort of esoteric and spiritual meanings and understandings behind what is occurring within that piece of land. I also noted in the newsletter that I had been receiving psychic impressions around Mickey Mouse as Lucifer. So if you are aware of Disney at all, you will know that there are many depictions of Mickey Mouse as a Luciferic being, shall we say. And so it felt like this was kind of like a deepening of that. And, you know, I've been aware of Disney being a satanic force, meaning that it is an inverted force. It is against life. It works for it is an instrument of the dark occult to push forward and distribute their agendas. And what is the image that we are sold of Disney? It is this idea that is family friendly. Now, the thing is, with these types of dark brotherhoods, with these Masonic cults, is that they turn everything on its head. So they will tell you that this is family friendly and this is the most amazing thing to show your children, and in fact it's quite the opposite. And if you research into MK Ultra, you find that the structure of Disney films is very similar to the types of trauma that is inflicted on victims of MK Ultra. I would argue that we are all victims of MK Ultra, obviously some more intensely and directly than others, but our culture, our society is built on social engineering. It is built on mind control. And one of the things that I know people have with Disney is this attachment, this childhood attachment to Disney, and, you know, sitting down together and everybody's watching the film, and, you know, maybe you come from a challenging family background and maybe that was the one time that you could all come together. And I think that experience is relatively common. However, and I'm going to refer to George Orwell's 1984 in this, is that you are taught to love Big Brother. You are taught to love your oppressor. You are taught to believe that actually your oppression is good for you. And this is whether you're looking at the transatlantic slave trade or many other systems of oppression. There were people who loved it, who bought into love. I use that word, not in its truest essence, but there were people that supported it, much like with domestic abuse and things like that. The idea of like Stockholm syndrome, of people that are kidnapped falling in love with their abusers because it's their only source of a way out or a way to keep living. And this is the attachment that I think a lot of people have with Disney is like Stockholm syndrome, is abuse, loving your abuser essentially. And this video isn't going to be a big expose of Disney. It's very much more about the healing transmission itself. And perhaps if I feel called, I will do a newsletter expanding on some of my points, or potentially a video. But there's a lot of information out there around Disney. And I think a good example as well is of the Mickey Mouse Club, and the ways in which the children that came out of that, whether it was Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake or Jessica Simpson, have been destroyed, absolutely destroyed by that machine. And that whole thing around child stardom is so toxic and really, really, truly horrific. And the way I see the Mickey Mouse Club is almost like these children being sacrificed to the Hollywood machine before they even knew what the Hollywood machine was. And that leads me on to another point around psychic impressions that I've been receiving, which is that the symbol of Mickey Mouse, which is obviously the main talisman of Disney. So if you research into magic, if you're into practicing magic at all, whether that's low magic, grey magic, high magic, you will know that talismans and sigils are a very important part of magic, and are not always, you can use talismans and sigils in high magic, but in black magic, they are also a very crucial part of that. And what I have been receiving is that the symbol of Mickey Mouse is the talisman of that Disney energy, which is fundamentally built upon the abuse of children, the ritualistic abuse of children. And it is also, it's well known that Walt Disney himself was an occultist, that his signature is a sigil of 666, and all of this information is out there. It's well known that he was a 33rd degree Freemason, and etc. And so what I have been receiving is that the symbol of Mickey Mouse in particular, but I also believe that this will translate to other prominent Disney characters, is that the image of them is drawn by these dark occultists, is likely pulled from the black sun, from this, from the abyss. And then they then channel certain types of demonic energies into that sigil. So when you create a sigil, you are essentially creating a symbol which is imbued with a certain kind of energy. And lots of people use it for manifestation and, various different things. However, I believe that this is, and what I've been receiving is that the talismans that are used within Disney have the energy of child sacrifice channeled into them, and have the energy of other horrific abuses to children channeled into them. And you don't have to believe me, I'm not here to convince anyone. Absolutely not. Do your own research. Always run what I'm saying through your body and ask yourself if it feels true. I would never expect anyone to just believe me based on nothing. However, I do feel called to share the psychic impressions that I'm receiving and that I feel are really crucial to understanding the larger system and structure that we are all inhabiting together. So, I'm going to begin. So this is going to be a mix of probably some light language coming through. When I was tapping into it earlier, I could feel almost like a kind of shamanic style journey coming through. So just taking a few deep breaths and, you might want to lie down, you might want to just stay seated and close your eyes over, and just taking a few really deep breaths and just centering into your body. Yeah, and just being told that all of the goddesses are very much around us supporting this healing transmission, the goddesses that are associated with the healing, like transmutational power of darkness, not with shadow, but the power that comes from facing our shadow. Sekhmet, Kali, Hecate, Ikri, Ikrana, Sha, Nukurana, Sa, Nikre, Nikrea, Sa, Nukre, She, Suya, Kurasa, Luto Kurasana, Shine, Se, Akiana, Kurasa, Jasa, Futakane, Se, Shikura, Suya, Shikuna, Sura, Ana, Shukusa. Yeah, and so what we are going to be doing is unplugging, is calling our energy back from these etheric grids that are existing within the 4D, that are existing within the fourth dimension. So all of our thoughts, all of our emotions exist on that plane just beyond the physical. And this is where these grids, these energetic fields that are many people are plugged into from those, from the consumption of Disney, from, you know, it just being forced in our faces continually. So this is what we are calling our energy back from. Yeah, and so the image I'm seeing is just an invitation to just drop down through a hole, through a doorway, maybe a doorway through a tree leading into the underworld. Just knowing that you're safe, knowing that you're held, knowing that you're surrounded by angels who are guiding this transmission. And so as you enter into this tunnel, just taking it in, maybe you can smell the sort of slightly wet mud of the earth, reminding you that you are grounded. And at the end of this tunnel, you are going to see this very, very bright light. And this is the part of us that many of us disconnected from when we were first exposed to this type of programming. You'll notice in a lot of Disney films that that the parent dies at the beginning, or there is some sort of massive trauma that is incurred, and that's all part of the traumatic systems, trauma-based mind control. And so we're seeing this beautiful bright ray of light, and we're just inviting it back into our field, into our being. Just merging, just reminding us that we have the ability to speak freely, we have the ability to express when we feel afraid, we have the ability to express. We have the ability to see clearly. We are removing all blindfolds. Removing all blindfolds. Okay, just grounding in some of these, the re-establishment of sovereignty codes. Remembering that you are solely responsible for your body, for your heart, for your mind. Remembering that deep inner knowing. Okay. Okay, and now we're just gonna call back, almost like how you would pull a plug out of a wall. We're just gonna visually unplugging from these grids. Then we're just going in and collapsing all timelines which are still running, related to the fear of losing a parent, related to the fears of being removed from a parent. And what they're saying is this is almost like a mirrored reflection. This is why this is so satanic, because for a child, their parent is almost like the image of a god, of somebody who is their provider, their caregiver, is everything to them. And so when a child visually sees on screen the death of a parent, a child is unable to differentiate whether that is happening in real life or whether that is happening within the material reality. And there's very little difference between how our subconscious mind consumes information or receives information and from how our conscious mind does. So what they're saying is that Disney's blueprint is in fact around the separation from the holy inner child, separating it from God, separating it from its own divinity. Retrieving chakra, and just feeling the cherubim very much around us right now. Yeah. Retrieving cherubim, coding. Okay, so just feeling in. Yeah, so what they're saying is that you may feel called to, sometimes we can accidentally plug ourselves back into grids when we remove ourselves from them. So they're saying just watch your field over the next few days, and you can just use that same visualization. It's very, very simple. It's very easy to just pull that plug socket out of the wall and stop allowing your energy to be feeding into the mechanisms, the instruments of the dark occult. And this is, when we talk about spiritual warfare, this is what we mean. This is the battle that is going on beyond the realms of most people's understanding and awareness. And on this level, people might think that they're just going to the cinema, but actually they're plugging into satanic, etheric grids. And I know it's not a nice thought. I know it's not something that is easy to face either, but we are in this together, and there is so much awakening that is happening right now. It is very sad that awakening often happens in times of great suffering. And I really see the lightness of this moment is about education and is about illumination. It's about choosing different patterns, choosing a different way of being, no longer choosing to live in the shadow, no longer choosing to hide, and allowing ourselves to really witness what is actually happening in this world. So thank you so much for tuning into this, and you can also return to this if you feel called at any time. Yeah, they're saying definitely give it a couple of days. But yeah, thank you so much. Sending you so much love and blessings for the rest of your day.